A day of action involving some of the largest trade unions in Europe begins today, ahead of a two-day European summit. The protests are aimed at the massive and growing joblessness across the bloc, as well as the austerity cuts. Let's now talk to international consultant and former Deputy Speaker of the European Parliament, Loda Vanoost. Mr. Vanoost, it's good to have you with us. With all these austerity measures, once again, we're witnessing a clash between the people, the public and bureaucracy. Who's going to win at the end of this battle?
Well, just a short intermission. I was Deputy Speaker of the Belgian Parliament. But to get to your question, one cannot measure social struggle on a day-by-day basis. This is definitely a long-term struggle that's going to take years, so it's not going to be over soon. What we see is definitely a clash between what public opinion wants and what governments and the EU are doing.
Can Europe still live to its old lifestyle, as the protesters want?
Well, I don't think you can just summarize what the protesters want as just going back to the old lifestyle. It's much more complex than that. Because what do you mean by old lifestyle? What happened in the 80s or the 90s, or what happened in the 70s or the 60s? But definitely what they are asking for is getting back to a state, a public authority who is much more active in the economy. Whether you like that or not from an ideological point of view is another debate. But that is definitely what the public here in these protests wants. They want a much more public involvement in the economy.
How will they get public involvement between government and the public? Because it's kind of difficult to sort of sit down with them. On one hand, the public are saying, we are going through the austerity cuts are hitting us more than they're hitting you, and yet we are asking for these changes, but these changes aren't being made. So how do they come together and work together if that's what needs to be done to make sure that all these austerity measures and all this hardship is over?
Well, actually, if you see the social protest, what that means is that for the moment there is no such dialogue between the public authorities and the public, so to speak. That is exactly what the problem is, that for the moment there is no real, how would I say, willingness to listen to what these people have to say. I mean, it's always about austerity, it's also about privatization, it's always about cutting down public services, but the voices that say you have to do exactly the opposite to revive the economy are not being heard, and that's why you get these protests.
Let's talk about unemployment. Youth unemployment is also a major concern for the protesters. Once that solution has been offered for, what dangers could that pose for the future if there's no solution to cater to what's going on in terms of the high unemployment in the EU?
Well, any society, whether it is Europe or Latin America or Asia, that does not give a perspective for a good future for young people is in really dire straits. I mean, this opens the way to forms of extremism. People who are desperate, especially young people, will look for answers on the extremes, whether that's on the left side, on the right side, doesn't matter. But if you want to really prevent this to happen, there's only one way out. You have to invest. You have to invest in jobs, especially for the young. That's the only way to do it.
You've served as a senior politician before. The way you see how the public and government work together, are they working together? Does the public have the people's interest, or are we just simplifying things because it's such a complex situation that there's so much that needs to be done from both sides to come to an agreement of some sort?
Well, I'm not going to idealize the 90s and the beginning of 2000 when I was in politics as if it was good then, and it's not just as simple as that. But definitely what we see now more and more is governments implementing policies that go against the will of their own people. Now, they call it austerity, they call it courageous decision and so on. Basically what it is the destruction of the social compact as it was constructed after the Second World War. And people don't want that. They want secure jobs. They want good services, and they're willing to pay taxes for it. What they do not want is to pay taxes to give everything to big corporations or to the wealthy.
Loda Vanoost, international consultant and former Deputy Speaker of the Belgian Parliament. I thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Always a pleasure.